This is a video focused on the most bizarre and brain-boggling discoveries from ancient history. Some of them are featured because they've revealed something entirely new about our ancient ancestors. Others are included simply because they are unbelievably crazy. It's the blend of the strange and the mysterious that makes them so rare, and we're about to show you exactly why. So, let's get started with number 15, Black Room of Pompeii. People love to talk about Pompeii as if it has already given every secret worth finding. Then a room like this appears and proves the city still knows how to stop you cold. In 2025, experts excavating Regio 9 found a banquet hall painted almost entirely black, a striking choice in a city better known for warm reds and bright decorative colors. The dark walls were practical. They helped disguise soot from oil lamps during evening feasts, but they also created a theatrical effect that must have felt unforgettable in flickering light. Against that black surface, painters placed scenes from the Trojan cycle. Not moments of battle, but moments of tension, hesitation, and doomed awareness. Helen stands before Paris. Cassandra sits with the knowledge that no one will believe. The room feels less like decoration and more like an argument staged in paint. It was built for conversation, for educated guests drinking wine and turning myth into discussion. That may be what stings most. The owners were renovating for tomorrow, and tomorrow never came. Number 14. Oldest bone tools and gypsum overlook. Stone survives, so stone dominates the story. But that has always been a little deceptive. In 2025, two discoveries reminded us how much early human ingenuity has been hidden simply because the wrong materials lasted. In Tanzania, researchers identified bone tools dating back 1.5 million years, making them the oldest known crafted examples of their kind. These were not random fragments pressed into service. They were intentionally shaped from large animal bones, ground, smoothed, and refined into useful forms. That takes planning, control, and a sharp understanding of material behavior. Meanwhile, at Gypsum Overlook in New Mexico, archaeologists uncovered early structures dating to around 8,800 years ago. These were not flimsy stops for the night. Their builders dug shallow floors, set posts, and engineered hearths for lasting heat, showing a level of permanence often denied to people of that era. Together, the finds say something simple but powerful. Ancient humans were not stumbling through survival. They were thinking ahead, building deliberately, and solving problems with real sophistication. Number 13. Amazon Little Faces carvings. Well, you won't believe it. But something strange resurfaced when the water pulled back. Deep within the Amazon, near where the Rio Negro meets the main river, close to Manaus, a severe drought revealed carvings that usually stay hidden beneath the current. These markings, estimated to be between 1 and 2,000 years old, show human faces etched directly into exposed rock. They call them caretas, meaning little faces, and they don't all look the same. Some appear calm, others almost expressive, as if someone tried to capture emotion rather than just form. That detail alone changes how you look at them. These weren't random scratches. Someone stood there, shaping meaning into stone. What makes this discovery rare is the timing. It has only happened once before. When the river rises again, they will vanish just as quickly. For archaeologists, that window matters. Still, even with all that, one question refuses to settle. These faces exist. But why they were made remains completely out of reach. Number 12. Great Zimbabwe Enclosure. Across the plateau of modern Zimbabwe, the ruins of Great Zimbabwe still carry the force of a civilization too often misunderstood. At the center stands the Great Enclosure, a huge curving wall of granite stretching more than 800 feet and rising over 30 feet high without mortar. It was built between the 11th and 15th centuries by the ancestors of the Shona, whose kingdom grew wealthy through cattle, gold, and long-distance trade. Foreign beads and Chinese porcelain found inside the ruins make that clear. This was no isolated settlement. It was tied to a much larger world. The builders worked with local granite, cracking it through heat and cold before shaping blocks and stacking them with astonishing precision. The walls leaned slightly inward, a subtle choice that helped them survive centuries of weather and shifting ground. Even now, the conical tower inside the enclosure refuses to explain itself. There are no doors, no chambers, and no certainty. Great Zimbabwe still feels like a city holding back one final answer. Number 11. Cranial modification in ancient Japan. The human body carries culture in ways we don't always expect. On Tanegashima Island, researchers discovered something that quietly rewrites assumptions. Burials linked to the Hirota people, dating from the 3rd to 7th century, revealed skulls that had been intentionally reshaped during early childhood. The deformation wasn't accidental. It followed a consistent pattern, repeated across individuals. What makes it unusual isn't the practice itself. Other cultures have done similar things. It's the absence of a clear hierarchy. Both men and women show the same alterations. No obvious link to status or rank. Researchers used detailed imaging to study the bone structure, confirming that the shaping was deliberate and controlled over time. That raises the real question. If it wasn't about power or class, what was it? Identity? Belonging? Something tied to belief? The answers aren't written anywhere, but the pattern remains, quietly suggesting that meaning once existed where we can no longer see it. So, it's a mystery no one can crack. Number 10. The Shomu Tepe figurine. Well, not every important discovery arrives with size or spectacle. Some reach you quietly. In 2025, archaeologists working at Damjili Cave in western Azerbaijan uncovered a small stone figurine no bigger than a palm, and somehow it carried the weight of an entire missing chapter. Dating to roughly 6400 to 6100 BC, the object belongs to the early Shomu Tepe culture, a Neolithic society living through the uneasy shift from foraging to farming. The figure is stylized and faceless, with the body given far more attention than any individual identity. That alone places it within a long tradition seen across prehistoric Eurasia, where human figures often carried symbolic, ancestral, or fertility-related meaning. What makes this one so important is where it was found. The Caucasus has long felt like a cultural bridge, yet examples of this kind of figurative art have been frustratingly rare there. Traces of red ochre on its surface hint at ritual use. Small as it is, the figurine closes a gap and makes that ancient world feel suddenly connected. Number 9. Ice Age cannibalism rituals. Well, now this ancient discovery isn't shocking because it happened. It's shocking because of why. Evidence from sites like Gough's Cave shows that around 15,000 years ago, people weren't just burying their dead. They were consuming them as part of a ritual practice. Marks on bones tell the story clearly. These weren't acts of desperation or starvation. The patterns are too consistent, too deliberate. This was a cultural choice, not a last resort. The Magdalenian people treated death in a way that feels unfamiliar today. Instead of separating the living from the dead, they may have believed in keeping that connection alive in a very literal sense. It suggests a worldview where identity didn't end. It was absorbed, continued, shared. What makes it even more interesting is the contrast. Other groups in Europe at the same time buried their dead with care, adding objects for the afterlife. Two completely different beliefs existing side by side. Same species. Entirely different ways of understanding death. It is crazy. What do you say? Number 8. Great Pyramid Hidden Void. For something as well studied as the Great Pyramid of Giza, you'd expect there to be very few surprises left. But in 2017, researchers identified something no one had seen before, a massive hidden space inside the structure. This void stretches roughly 100 feet in length and sits above the Grand Gallery, aligned at a similar angle. Its size alone makes it significant, large enough to hold something substantial, though what that might be is completely unknown. The discovery wasn't made through excavation. Instead, scientists used a method involving muon particles, tracking how they passed through the stone to reveal empty areas. It's a technique that allowed them to detect the space without damaging the pyramid. What makes the situation complicated is access. The void doesn't appear to connect to any known corridors or entry points. Reaching it would require cutting into the structure, something authorities have refused to allow. So for now, it remains sealed. Its purpose unclear. So, do you have any idea about it? Number 7. Medieval pocket sundial. It's easy to overlook something that small. In the town of Marburg, a group of students came across an object no larger than a matchbox. At first, nothing crazy. Then it opened. Inside sat a fully functional pocket sundial, crafted from wood and bronze, dating back to the late medieval period. Compact, precise, and carefully made, it was designed to measure time using sunlight alone. The design wasn't decorative. It worked. Angles, markings, and alignment, all calculated with surprising accuracy for its size. Evidence suggests it may have belonged to the Brethren of the Common Life, a religious group known for blending education with daily practice. That fits. Time, in that context, wasn't casual. It was structured, observed, and respected. Objects like this rarely survive intact. Wood decays, metal corrodes, pieces vanish. This one didn't. Holding it now feels less like looking at history and more like stepping briefly into someone else's routine. Number 6. Ram-headed sphinx. Egypt is known for its sphinxes, but most people picture the familiar human-headed form. That's why the discovery at Gebel el-Silsila stood out immediately. This one carried the head of a ram. Unearthed in what appears to have been a carving workshop, the statue dates back 3,000 years. Its location raises an obvious point. Objects like this weren't meant to stay in workshops. They were created for placement elsewhere. The sculpture itself looks largely complete, which makes its presence there even more unusual. If it had been unfinished, that would explain it. But it wasn't. That leaves open the possibility that it was rejected, abandoned, or simply never transported. Some similarities have been noted between this piece and statues connected to Amenhotep III, suggesting it may have been commissioned during his reign. Nearby, a smaller carved cobra was also found, possibly intended as an additional decorative element. Whatever the reason for it being left behind, it offers a rare glimpse into the production side of ancient Egyptian sculpture. Number 5. The lost Magna Carta. Not all lost treasures are buried under dirt or sunk in the sea. Sometimes history disappears in a drawer because someone filed it badly and moved on. That is what makes the rediscovery of a Magna Carta at Harvard so quietly astonishing. The document is an original 1300 issue confirmed under Edward I, part of the version that helped turn the charter from a failed medieval settlement into lasting law. For years, it sat misidentified in the university's collections, likely treated as just another legal manuscript. Then, someone looked closely enough to notice what it really was. That moment says a great deal about the modern archive. We like to imagine major institutions know exactly what they own. They do not. Their basements and storage rooms are full of objects catalogued vaguely, forgotten slowly, and separated from their real significance by decades of clerical drift. If a document as foundational as Magna Carta can vanish in plain sight, that should make everyone uneasy. History is still here. We are simply terrible at seeing all of it. Number 4. Alutiic woven fragments. Archaeology rarely preserves the fragile parts of life. That's why this find in Kodiak Island feels almost unreal. Inside the remains of an ancient sod house, burned thousands of years ago, archaeologists uncovered woven fragments that somehow survived. Dating back around 3,000 years, these pieces likely formed part of floor mats used for sleeping or daily living. The structure belonged to the Aluti people, a community with deep roots along the Alaskan coast. Their weaving technique shows careful planning. Long strands lay parallel, locked together through precise twining. It's not rough work. It's controlled, practiced, intentional. Fire destroyed the house, but in a strange way, it also protected what remained. These fragments do more than fill a gap. They shift the picture entirely. Suddenly, daily life feels closer. All right. Now, let's move to Number 3. Megalithic walls of Tarragona. In Tarragona, the wall tells its story the moment you look at it. The lower section is built from huge rough megaliths, irregular and heavy, while the upper courses shift abruptly into clean Roman ashlar stone. It feels like two worlds stacked on top of one another. That contrast matters. Long before Rome secured the coast during the Second Punic War, local Iberian groups had already fortified the hill with massive mortarless foundations. Recent excavation and ceramic evidence have confirmed that those lower stones were in place before the Romans arrived. And when Roman engineers took over, they made a very revealing choice. They did not tear the old wall down. They built directly on top of it. That says everything. The base was too stable, too effective, too valuable to waste. Even now, the weathering on the oldest stones gives the structure a deeper mystery than the official timeline fully settles. Tarragona is not just a Roman wall. It is a layered argument in stone about memory, inheritance, and survival. Number 2. Ancient Chinese chime bells. Music doesn't usually survive thousands of years intact. These did. In Henan province, archaeologists uncovered a complete set of bronze chime bells known as bianzhong, dating back to the spring and autumn period. Each bell is shaped with careful precision, designed to produce two distinct tones depending on where it's struck. That level of control isn't accidental. It reflects a deep understanding of sound, material, and structure. The set was found still arranged on its original wooden frame, untouched, unlooted. That alone makes it rare. But these weren't just instruments. They carried meaning. In ancient Chinese courts, music wasn't entertainment. It was authority, rank, order, and ritual all tied into sound. Hearing them today isn't the point. Knowing they existed in that form, at that time, tells you everything. This wasn't some kind of early experimentation. It was mastery already in place. Okay. Now let's end this journey with Number 1, the walls of Mycenae. Standing above the plains of southern Greece, these walls still look less like architecture and more like defiance turned into stone. Massive limestone boulders, some weighing many tons, were dragged uphill and stacked into fortifications so thick that later Greeks refused to believe ordinary people had built them. That is how the term Cyclopean masonry was born. The walls were never about elegance. They were about permanence, pressure, and survival. Huge rough stones formed the main barrier, while smaller chunks were wedged into the gaps to stabilize the whole mass and help absorb earthquake shock. At the Lion Gate, that confidence becomes unmistakable. Its heavy lintel and relieving triangles show a deep understanding of weight long before formal engineering existed on paper. Even deeper inside the citadel, the same builders carved an underground passage to secure water during a siege. That detail matters. Mycenae was not just protecting treasure. It was preparing for endurance. These walls still ask the same question they asked then. Who exactly could force their way through this? Well, we hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for staying with us. And be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.